Hi, everybody. I am Agatha Iris, and I am here from On Tier. But I am a former Easterner, and I'm excited to teach today. I originally started my research in the 15th century. I studied a lot of old underwear, and now I'm starting to focus on the Bronze Age. I'm pretty solidly in the Bronze Age these days. I started my early period research with Roman, and then I took a class at Penzic with Elf Jen Kohler, and she is an amazing teacher and really got me excited about Bronze Age and Iron Age. So that started my obsession. So I'm going to first, I'm going to show you a slideshow that I created. You hopefully have the class notes, and I will refer to them, but I'm going to be going through the slideshow first. And then at the end, if you have questions, actually, if you have questions as we go, we'll read them after, and I will gladly answer any questions. And if you haven't muted yet, please make sure you do that. And I am going to share my screen. Here we go. Okay, so can everybody see that? Yes, no, maybe so?
Yes.
Great. All right, so this is a class on how to pattern and sew your own Bronze Age women's tunic. So again, so the first image here is from the Borum Essage find. This is a find from the 14th century BCE in Denmark. This was found on a woman who is about my age, actually, in her 50s, considered a very old woman. And this tunic is very simply patterned, but has some complex things about it. The cut in the front I find very interesting. I really wanted it to be an opening for like breastfeeding or something like that. It is not. It is thought that that was just a cut in order to get it over her head and onto her body after she had passed away. See, the next one I want to look at is the Ekved top. Now, this uh, the author refers to these as jackets. I don't think that is a proper term. I think that's just a term that it's what the translation ended up being for these little tops. So this is the Ekved top, very similar. You can see that the fabric in these is so coarse, especially the Ekved jacket. Her top is such a coarse wool, tabby woven wool. This is the back of that same shirt from the previous slide. This one is from the Scrid Strip find. This one was on a woman that was also young when she died. So the Ekved find is she was between 16 and 18 when she passed away, and the Scrid Strip woman was also about 18 years old when she passed away. Her top is much more complex. If you look at the sleeves in this image, you can see what seem to be pleats or ridges. Those were created with a specific type of stitch, and that is in the, I don't know if I included it in this slideshow, but I know it's in your class notes. And then the neckline is also pretty complex as well, but still patterned in much the same way. So this image here is the Borum Essage top. It is slightly askew, not quite on grain. You can see it's sort of tilted there. It has little patches at the neckline, and that is to help strengthening that neckline shoulder area. What you're looking here at the top part is the part that would fold down to the back, and then the sides would be folded inward to make the back center seam. And then these smaller pieces at the bottom of this pattern were little pieces that were added to at the bottom hem to add length. Almost all of these tops, to my knowledge, all have this little strip at the bottom to lengthen the shirt. This one is the Ekved shirt. also patterned much the same. These angles here you see at the top, I don't know if that's from cutting. I believe that is from it's stretched as it was worn. So it was not, I don't think, cut with these sort of scallopy edges. Here is the skirt strip jacket or shirt. You can see that this is all one piece, but you can see that these pieces here that are the sleeves at the top on the sides have these ridges along with the embroidered edge along that sleeve edge, and the neckline is also embroidered. Some of the earliest embroidery we have ever seen. So I didn't know this, but I learned this in my research that the buttonhole stitch is ancient. It has been used for thousands of years to finish edges of fabric. So the fabric weaves in the Danish Bronze Age tunics are tabby or plain wool. The wool is natural and undyed, and they were probably woven on warp-weighted looms. The examples that I have seen of actual looms in Bronze Age finds are from the Must Farm, which is in England. And that find doesn't feature any wool. It features all either nettle or linen fabrics. So we know that linen did exist in the Bronze Age, and actually some of those weaves are quite fine in the Must Farm. These finds from the Danish Bronze Age have thread counts that are quite coarse, so 3 to 5 threads per centimeter, so really, really coarse. Sewing thread was usually 2-ply wool, and the construction stitches were usually made by overlapping those raw edges and sewing both sides with a whip stitch. Neck openings, cuffs, and hems were done with a buttonhole / scallop stitch. And when I'm done with the slideshow, I'll show you my examples of what my reconstructions look like, so you can see how those are applied and where. And I do actually have a video of how I have patterned my own Bronze Age women's tunic. You can use measurements, but you can use also a t-shirt, which is what I used. I didn't use a t-shirt that had to stretch on my body as it was worn. It was just fitted enough, but not too loose. So if you don't mind, I'm going to play a video of how I patterned my Bronze Age top. All right, so you can see that's my process. Let me make sure that that is not going to make noise again when I go to the next slide. So just like in the video, you're going to take a, you can use a sheet. It doesn't have to be paper. I tend to use brown paper because I have a bunch of it. And I'm just determining how long it's going to be by the t-shirt length. So if you want it longer, obviously make it longer. If you want it shorter, make it shorter. And I add a little bit of ease. So ease makes it so you can get it over your body. If you don't add ease, it's going to be really, really tight. It's not stretchy like a t-shirt. This is woven plain tabby wool. So you want to make sure that you add that 2 or 3 inches of ease. Now what you see here is a dotted line that it shows where I'm going to fold down my this top part to become the sleeve and neckline. Does someone have a question? I hear a noise. Okay. Then you're going to find the center of the top fold and cut a slit or rounded neck hole. I like a lower neck hole, so I cut mine a little lower. If you don't mind a straighter neck line, then don't cut a curve in your neckline. The extant ones ranged from curved to not curved, so it's up to you. Then you're going to cut inward to where the side, where how wide you want it to be. That will also determine the length of your sleeves as well. So if you want longer sleeves, you're going to want a wider piece of fabric. And then when you fold the sides in, you will have to kind of take out some fabric. Otherwise, it'll be really, really wide and you don't want that. And then make sure you, if you're going to use linen, which I use linen quite often, you need to finish your edges by hemming them somehow. I use just a whip stitch to hem mine, and then I whip stitch linen together. Wool that is able to be folded does not need to have the raw edge folded down. So if it's not going to ravel a whole bunch, you don't have to worry about folding over the raw edges. If you need a little bit of length added at the bottom, you can add a strip of fabric like the extant ones, or you could do a few like the extant ones. They all kind of, there was no rhyme or reason to like what direction warp or weft or, edges of things. They used fabric as scraps that they could find. I think they avoided bias if they could. I didn't see any bias examples except for the warm eshage, which, it might have just been accidental. Um, this is an example of a pretty close to appropriate weight and thread count wool that I have, and that is the whip stitches on the inside and outside of the fabric. Looks a little messy, but so do the extant ones. It's something I found, like perfection doesn't, we don't have to worry about perfection. This one is allegedly a nettle fabric, but I also found out that what some vendors will call nettle fabric is actually ramie because they're sort of related. But this is a really, really soft, quote, nettle fabric. I don't believe it is, but I had to finish the edges on that and add a little panel because I mismeasured. And so I had to add a little bit of width to the back there with some extra panels. This is an example of my Borum Eshage top. I made it as closely as I could to the extant one, minus the thread count of the extant one. Did not at the time have the proper fabric for that. But you can see around the neckline and around the cuffs and the bottom edge, I have done a double layer of buttonhole stitches or scallop stitches in wool thread. And then on the front, you can see where I've added a brooch. That will pull down that front neckline a little bit so that it's not choking me right at my neck. And this is an example of my newest top based on a combination of the Borum Eshage top and the Scrid Strip top. I'm making a neckline using what we call needle lace technique, which will be over sewn with it's almost like a stem stitch, but in 3 layers. It's super complex, but exciting to try out. And that is it for my